So, this stuff is not rocket science, but it is common sense and science. So when we look at it from this way, it is really not difficult at all to raise a dog. I mean, I've got a puppy in situ at the moment. He's been here 2 days. Um, he already knows, go to your crate, lie down and shush, because he gets a stuffed Kong. He already knows to pee on cue. We're still working on poop on cue. Gina just left and said, I can't get him to poop on cue yet. I said, well, we'll work with it. But when he does for the first time, he will get 10 food rewards in a row. I mean, I believe in making a statement because I don't want to live with a dog that is frustrating me. Or for owners, it doesn't just frustrate them, it annoys them. And then life is no good for the dog. So the first thing I would do is consider how we feed it. And I think this is where we totally go down the wrong track by feeding dogs from bowls, which I would consider is not only psychologically unhealthy, but it's physically unhealthy. This is not the natural way for a dog to eat at 5 p.m. every day and fill its stomach. If it's lucky enough, say in the wild, feral canids, that they kill a rabbit, they'll eat the whole thing, they'll gorge, then they'll waddle home. And the reason for gorging is so I don't have to hold it in my mouth, because my jaws are my weapons to defend my rabbit. Meet another dog on the way home with a big juicy rabbit. Yo, dog, I love your rabbit. My rabbit, so you get bitten on the butt. So they gorge, go home, and then regurgitate. So a full stomach every day is decidedly physically unhealthy, especially for the large and extra large breeds of dog. From a psychological viewpoint, if you feed, say, a Labrador from a bowl, within 5 seconds, it's gone, and you've stolen the dog's raison d'etre. Its reason to be in the real world would be, I'd be foraging and hunting all day long, eating a snail there, a leaf there, a bit of rotten fruit off a tree, maybe some herbivore feces, all the good stuff. But you wouldn't be eating a rabbit every day at 5 p.m. Like, hello, rabbit, could you come back at 5? It's a bit early. It's only 3, 4, So I don't believe in feeding dogs on schedules, because if you're ever late, they're really going to stress. I don't believe in feeding dogs in bowls. Now, from a training viewpoint, I could give you a list of 101 things I could teach using a piece of kibble. As a lure, best lure to get a dog to shush. You just hold a bit of kibble in front of its nose. As soon as it sniffs, it stops barking, because you can't bark, and be quiet at the same time and sniff at the same time. The best reward for house training, because that's when people's surliness comes out. They take the dog out on a really hot day or rainy day, in the middle of the advertisements in a footy game, and say, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And the dog pees in about damn time. That's their reward. I'm sorry. I say, thank you. You're the best dog in the world. Treat, 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 treat. And people can laugh at me, but my dogs are house trained. They're not only house trained in my house, they're house trained when I go to someone else's house. Or for the dogs in training here, we're training service dogs. And just recently, we had to train a dog, and you know what his first task was going to be? To fly to Australia.
Yeah, wow.
From Los Angeles to Australia. It's a 14-hour flight. And so we trained the dog for that, and he did it without a mistake. And as soon as he had finished, and he had to have one potty break, and the flight took him in, go pee, good, disposed of it, go poop. So we gave him all the disposal cues, so the poop obviously went and got flushed. But he made 14 hours, the first time he was ever, confined. It was kind of a rush. So I think if we change the way we feed, we weigh out the food in the morning, feed kibble. Why? It's so convenient. If you're feeding anything else, like you want to feed raw, then kibbleize it. So easy to do. Grind it up, extrude it in a, spaghetti maker or something, and then air dry it. Yep. And now you've got a nice kibbleized food that's so discreet that we can use for lures and rewards. And with dogs coming in here, we also got an adult dog arrive that just needed a little bit of catch up with training, let's say. About 2 days, he's back on track. And that's after receiving about 100 food rewards. He knows the routine, like all the dogs do. So I think that's where people go off track. They don't predict what's coming. They haven't a clue. They also don't predict how quickly this will happen from cute puppy to out of control, over the top, adolescent, rambunctious, rumbustious beast. That's
Yeah.
3 months. That's all it
Yeah.
is. And so they're behind before they start. But I think changing focus from calling this is a problem, why should I have this problem, to this is a normal behavior, here it is, right on schedule, let's teach the dog how to do it within a domestic environment so it doesn't upset us.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And there's a lot of questions that I'd like to ask that from your opening statements there. But I guess the first one is, there was one part in the beginning there, you said that it's actually quite easy to do. Like you're talking about the dog that you have at the moment. You've got it mostly trained more than some dogs get trained in their entire life in just 2 days. So why do you think some people find it so hard? Is it an educational gap? Is it just what they see from others? Why do you think people struggle?
Oh, it's definitely a transfer of information gap from my brain to their brain, or from any trainer's brain to their brain. So if the information's delivered by talking to people, well, they're only going to take in 7%. How much will they follow? Probably next to nothing, because they don't see the point. You see, they're looking at a puppy. They think, oh, he's friendly, he's confident, not realizing that you socialize him now because fearfulness won't start developing until 5, 6, 7, 8 months. So, and you prevent fear of the unfamiliar. That's a normal dog problem, a normal dog developmental occurrence, that starting about 5 months, they become wary of the unfamiliar places, unfamiliar situations, unfamiliar dogs, and unfamiliar people. So they look at their puppy living with them and their other dog, and they develop this false sense of security, so they don't see the point of training. But I've always, because the transfer of information I know is difficult, I've tried to make it as quick. I've tried to create dog training techniques, or design them, if you like, that are easy, quick, highly effective. And it goes without saying, and a lot of fun, downright enjoyable. It has to be easy, because the dog trainer is not me. I mean, this is I think the biggest mistake that trainers make. They don't realize that their client is not them, doesn't have their level of expertise or experience, doesn't have their interest in dogs. They want a dog they can turn on and turn off. I get that. So that's what I give them. And
Yeah.
the dog gets very used to this. And now, because he's well behaved, they want him turned on most of the time, because he's not jumping up, running around, destroying stuff, or barking. So that dog is much more likely to be integrated within the household. Otherwise, they'll get frustrated at 5 to 6 months, and then off we go to the shelter. And then we're
Yeah.
trying to rehome these dogs. I mean, it's ridiculous, because many shelters don't have in-house behavior programs. It's basically just a cage for a lot of shelters. A lot of shelters are brilliant. Dog comes in, they do a behavior problem makeover, about 3 days to a week, and they're adopting out a dog that is much, much more adoptable, hoping it won't come back again. So I think before we, get, like, I find so many trainers are too, like, on their high horse, sanctimonious, and they'll call an owner, you're irresponsible, or that's inhumane, you shouldn't have got a dog in the first place. I'm sorry, that's water under the bridge. They got the dog, and it's your client. What are you going to do? Let's train it up as easily as possible, then as quickly as possible. Why? Because if it's not quick, they won't do it. So if it's not easy, they can't do it. If it's not quick, they won't do it. And then it's got to be effective. Now, I know that sounds dumb. Training has to be effective. But how many trainers do you know that test the effectiveness? They quantify the effectiveness of their training, and so can show owners proof of training, what change has happened in this one session, and proof of the speed of training. Because I get it that owners want it to be quick and easy. They don't want it to be a rigmarole where you have to earn a PhD in psychology to do it, or read all these textbooks and learn all this theory. They don't want to be bored to death. They just want to train their dog. And I think that is the dog trainer's job.
Yeah.
train it quickly, easily, and to test that that training has worked.